The Galactic Council's ships arrived on a Tuesday morning. They descended through Earth's atmosphere in a dazzling display of silver and gold, their massive vessels making our largest aircraft carriers look like children's toys. The world held its breath. Countless eyes turned skyward as humanity faced its first official contact with an alien civilization. No one expected them to laugh. Remarkable. Chief Ambassador Vextol clicked through his translator, mandibles twitching in what humans would later learn was barely contained amusement. You've managed to create crude fusion reactors and even launched a few satellites. For a species barely out of its geological adolescence, that's quaint. Dr. Sarah Chen, Earth's lead diplomatic representative, felt her jaw tighten. 20 years as a xenanthropologist hadn't prepared her for being patronized by an 8-foot-tall insectoid alien in front of the United Earth Council. She maintained her composure, though her knuckles whitened around the podium. "With all due respect, Ambassador," she replied, "humanity has achieved faster-than-light travel in simulations. We've established colonies on Mars and Europa. We've mapped the quantum realm. These are not insignificant accomplishments." The ambassador's crystalline eyes flickered in what might have been pity. "My dear Professor, any species can achieve rudimentary space travel given enough time. But there are laws to the universe that cannot be circumvented. Your simulations of FTL travel are like a child drawing wings on a fish and claiming it can fly." Behind him, other members of the Galactic Council's delegation chittered in agreement. They represented 12 of the most advanced species in the known galaxy, each with histories spanning millions of years. To them, humanity's few thousand years of civilization were barely worth noting. In the months that followed, Earth's governments learned the bitter truth about their place in the galactic community. The Council had been watching Earth for centuries, categorizing humans as a Class 3 developing species. Their arrival wasn't a recognition of human achievement. It was a courtesy call to inform humanity of the rules. "Your species will be granted limited trading rights within your solar system," Vextol explained during one of many condescending meetings. "You'll be permitted to maintain your existing colonies, and we'll establish a monitoring station in orbit to ensure compliance with Council regulations." The restrictions came fast and heavy. No development of certain technologies deemed too advanced for human civilization. No expansion beyond the solar system. No direct communication with other species without Council oversight. They claimed it was for humanity's own protection, that other species might take advantage of such a young race. But in private chambers of government and corporate laboratories across Earth, something else was brewing. Dr. Chen saw it in the eyes of her colleagues, in the determined set of their shoulders. The Council's patronizing attitude had awakened something quintessentially human, a burning desire to prove them wrong. "They think they understand us," Dr. Chen told a classified meeting of the United Earth Science Division. "They've placed us in their neat categories based on their own evolutionary timelines. But they've made a crucial mistake. They're judging us by their standards, not ours." She pulled up a holographic display showing human technological progress over the past century. "Look at this curve. Any other species took thousands of years to progress from industrial revolution to spaceflight. We did it in decades. They think this is our limit." She gestured to the Council's restricted technology list. "This isn't a ceiling, it's a challenge." In the bowels of hidden laboratories, human scientists began working on something revolutionary. Not the brute force approach to FTL travel the Council dismissed as impossible, but something entirely different, something that would change everything. The Council's monitoring station recorded everything they expected to see. Humans going about their business, maintaining their primitive colonies, occasionally making minor technological advances that the Council found amusing. They saw exactly what they wanted to see: a young species accepting its place in the galactic hierarchy. They didn't see Dr. Chen's team working in a facility buried deep beneath the Atacama Desert. They didn't detect the quantum communications network being tested in the dark spaces between planets. And they certainly didn't notice the small breakthrough that would shatter their understanding of what humans were capable of. Let them think we're trapped here, Dr. Chen wrote in her encrypted journal. Let them believe we're content with their scraps of technology and condescending guidance. Humanity has spent its entire history breaking free of limitations others placed on us. This is no different. The Council's representatives continued their regular visits, each time more convinced of their own superiority. They never questioned why humans accepted their restrictions with such apparent grace. They never wondered why Earth's governments seemed so complacent. They should have. Because in the shadows of gas giants and the hidden valleys of Mars, humanity was preparing to demonstrate just how wrong their assumptions were. The Council thought they were containing a primitive species. Instead, they had created the perfect environment for human ingenuity to flourish, in secret, without oversight, driven by the most powerful motivator in human history, the desire to prove someone wrong. 15 years after first contact, humanity appeared to be the model of compliance. The Council's monitoring stations dutifully recorded the predictable activities of a developing species, the slow expansion of Martian colonies, the careful maintenance of fusion reactors, the gradual improvement of solar system infrastructure, everything progressing exactly as expected for a Class 3 civilization. Deep beneath Europa's ice, Dr. Marcus Wong watched reality tell a different story. The quantum fold is stable, his assistant reported, eyes fixed on readings that shouldn't have been possible according to Council science. Field coherence at 98%. The device humming in the center of their hidden facility looked deceptively simple, a sphere of curved metal panels surrounding a core of swirling energy. What made it revolutionary wasn't its appearance, but what it represented: humanity's complete rejection of conventional physics. They gave us a list of impossible things, Marcus mused, watching the energy patterns shift and flow. Their biggest mistake was assuming we'd believe them. The Council's physics, developed over millions of years, approached faster than light travel as a brute force problem, trying to push ships through the barriers of space-time. Humanity, forced to think differently, had discovered something else entirely: the ability to fold space itself. Similar breakthroughs were happening across the solar system, hidden from the Council's watchful eyes. In the asteroid belt, quantum-encrypted communications networks carried messages instantly across vast distances. Under the surface of Mars, new materials were being developed that could adapt and respond to any form of energy. In orbital shipyards disguised as maintenance facilities, vessels were being constructed that would redefine space travel. Dr. Sarah Chen, now director of the United Earth Science Division, coordinated it all. Her office on Earth remained exactly what the Council expected, filled with primitive holographic displays and approved technology. The real control center was in her mind, connected to the quantum network through a neural interface that the Council's sensors couldn't detect. Phase 3 is ahead of schedule, Marcus reported through the secure link. The drive works, Sarah. It actually works. She allowed herself a small smile. And the Council, still convinced we're struggling with basic ion propulsion. Their latest report expressed concern that we might be pushing our technology too fast. The irony wasn't lost on either of them. While the Council worried about humanity's reckless development of approved technologies, the real advances remained invisible. Every patronizing inspection, every condescending report only served to perfect humanity's deception. But it wasn't just technology that had evolved. Human society had transformed in ways the Council couldn't comprehend. The restrictions meant to limit humanity had instead united it. Old rivalries faded in the face of a common goal. Resources and knowledge flowed freely between nations, corporations, and research facilities. In a hidden chamber beneath Geneva, the United Earth Council received its weekly update. Holographic displays showed the true extent of human achievement. A fleet of ships unlike anything the galaxy had seen, weapons that could target specific quantum states, defensive systems that didn't just deflect energy, but redirected it. The Council believes we accepted their limitations because we had no choice, the UEC chairman observed. They never considered that we might simply be better at hiding things than they are at finding them. Indeed, humanity had turned deception into an art form. Every visible human achievement was carefully calculated to reinforce the Council's assumptions. When breakthroughs couldn't be hidden, they were disguised as lucky accidents or presented as crude approximations of real technology. The Council's own arrogance made it easy. They were so convinced of their superiority that they never questioned their basic assumptions about human capability. Their monitoring focused on known forms of technology, never imagining that humanity might develop entirely new approaches. In orbital shipyards hidden within asteroid hollows, the first vessels of humanity's true fleet took shape. They bore little resemblance to the bulky, crystalline ships of the Council races. These were elegant predators, their quantum-fold drives and adaptive hulls representing an entirely new approach to space travel. How many? Sarah asked during a secure briefing. Over 1,000 ships ready for immediate deployment, came the response. Another 2,000 in final assembly. Production facilities automated and capable of replacing losses within days. The numbers should have been impossible for a primitive species confined to one solar system. But humanity had learned to use its limitations as advantages. Unable to expand outward, they had expanded inward, building vast underground facilities, transforming asteroids into automated factories, developing technologies that required minimal resources. The Council's own restrictions had forced humanity to become more efficient, more innovative, and more resourceful than any species that had developed without such constraints. Every challenge they created had been turned into an opportunity. But the greatest deception wasn't the hidden fleet or the quantum technology. It was the patience. For 15 years, humanity had endured the Council's condescension, their patronizing guidance, their endless restrictions. They had smiled and nodded, and played the role of the grateful primitive species while preparing for a moment that was now, finally, approaching. Final testing is complete, Marcus reported through the quantum link. We can deploy at any time. Sarah closed her eyes, feeling the weight of 15 years of preparation. The Council thought they were containing humanity. In reality, they had created something unprecedented in galactic history. A species that had developed in secret, uninhibited by preconceptions about what was possible. Not yet, she replied. We wait for them to give us a reason. Let them make the first mistake. She didn't have to wait long. The Council's complacency was about to backfire in spectacular fashion, and the galaxy would never be the same. The breaking point came from an unexpected direction. Not from the Council's patronizing oversight, but from those who operated in the spaces between official jurisdictions, pirates who assumed humanity was as defenseless as they had been told. The attack on Europa's outer research station should have been a simple raid. The pirates, operating from ships using outdated Council technology, expected to find a primitive facility protected by basic shields and chemical weapons. They planned to steal resources, take hostages, and disappear back into the vast darkness between the stars. They never reached the surface. Dr. Sarah Chen was in a meeting with Council representatives when the alert came through her neural link. She maintained her pleasant smile, nodding as Ambassador Vextel's successor lectured about the proper development rate for fusion technology. In her mind, she watched the tragedy unfold. The pirates had no warning. One moment, they were approaching Europa in a standard attack formation. The next, quantum distortions rippled through space around them. 3 human vessels simply appeared, sleek, dark shapes that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Impossible, the pirate commander transmitted, switching through frequencies as his sensors tried to make sense of what they were seeing. This is a restricted system. They can't have. The rest of his message was lost as the human ships opened fire. They didn't use the plasma weapons or kinetic projectiles the pirates were prepared for. Instead, precise beams of concentrated quantum energy struck each pirate vessel, targeting specific atomic bonds in their hull materials. Ships didn't explode. They simply came apart at the molecular level. In Geneva, The United Earth Council watched the engagement through quantum-linked displays. Response time. Someone asked. 43 seconds from alert to resolution, came the reply. No casualties on our side. No debris larger than a molecule. No survivors from the pirate fleet. The Council's monitoring stations recorded nothing. The quantum fold drives left no trace. The weapons no radiation signature. As far as their instruments were concerned, the pirates had simply ceased to exist. Sarah maintained her composure through the rest of the meeting, listening to the ambassador's suggestions about improving Earth's primitive defense systems. Only those connected to the quantum network knew that humanity had just demonstrated military technology centuries beyond anything the Council possessed. But the pirates' attack had changed everything. For 15 years, humanity had hidden its capabilities, waiting for the right moment. Now, that charade was about to end. Send the message, Sarah ordered once she was alone in her quantum-shielded office. Implementation of protocol revelation begins now. Across the solar system, hidden facilities hummed to life. Ships emerged from asteroid hollows and underground hangars, their quantum fold drives creating ripples in spacetime that no Council sensor could detect. In orbital shipyards, automated systems began full production of vessels that would redefine warfare. The Council received humanity's response to the pirate attack 12 hours later. It was delivered by Dr. Chen herself, standing before the full Council assembly in their orbital station. In light of recent events, she began, her voice carrying none of the subservience they had come to expect. The United Earth Council has determined that the current restrictions on human technological development are no longer acceptable. The Council chamber erupted in dismissive laughter. Ambassador Vextel's successor waved a limb in what might have been pity or contempt. "My dear Professor," he began, using the patronizing tone that had become so familiar. "While the pirate attack is regrettable, it hardly justifies." "I wasn't finished," Sarah interrupted, her voice cutting through the chamber like a quantum blade. "As I speak, human fleets are deploying throughout the solar system. Our quantum fold drives make your FTL technology obsolete. Our weapons can target specific atomic bonds. Our defensive systems operate on principles your science doesn't recognize." The laughter died. Screens throughout the chamber came to life, showing images that should have been impossible. Thousands of advanced ships emerging from hiding, technology that defied Council physics, weapons that could reshape matter at the quantum level. "For 15 years, Sarah continued, you assumed our compliance meant acceptance. You never considered that we might simply be better at hiding things than you are at finding them. That ends today." The Council chamber descended into chaos. Some representatives called for immediate military action. Others demanded to know how this had happened under their watch. A few simply sat in stunned silence. Sarah raised her hand, and the quantum interface in her mind connected with the chamber systems. Every screen, every computer, every piece of Council technology came under her control. "Before you consider a military response," she said calmly, "you should know that we've had access to your networks for years. We know your capabilities, we know your weaknesses, and we know you can't stop us." She paused, letting the implications sink in. Humanity hadn't just developed advanced technology. They had done it in ways the Council had never imagined possible. Every assumption about human limitations had been wrong. "But we're not here for revenge," Sarah concluded. "We're here to correct a mistake. You tried to contain us, to make us develop according to your rules and expectations. Instead, you forced us to think differently, to find new approaches, to become something unprecedented." The Council representatives watched in growing horror as more data filled their screens. The true extent of human advancement, the technologies they had developed, the fundamental laws of physics they had rewritten. "So now," Sarah said, "we're going to have a very different conversation about humanity's place in the galaxy. And this time, we'll be the ones making the rules." The age of human subservience was over. The galaxy was about to learn what happened when you underestimated humanity's potential, and more importantly, What happened when humanity decided to show its true capabilities? News of humanity's technological leap spread through the galaxy like a quantum shockwave. Species that had dismissed Earth as a backwater found themselves facing an uncomfortable reality. The primitives they had patronized for years had secretly surpassed them all. The merchant guilds were the first to break ranks with the Council's official position. When quantum-fold ships began appearing in trading hubs across the galaxy, they didn't see a threat. They saw opportunity. Human technology represented the first true innovation in FTL travel in 10,000 years. Your ships can cross the galaxy in days instead of months, the guild master explained to Dr. Marcus Wong during urgent negotiations. That alone changes everything. But it wasn't just the ships. Every piece of human technology challenged fundamental assumptions about physics, engineering, and the nature of reality itself. The quantum communication network rendered traditional FTL communications obsolete. Adaptive materials transformed manufacturing. Energy weapons that could target specific molecular bonds made traditional defenses meaningless. In the Council's secure archives, analysts worked frantically to understand how they had missed the signs. They found them everywhere, hidden in plain sight. The seemingly random power fluctuations in Earth's grid that had actually been quantum-fold drive tests, the maintenance facilities that had been shipyards, the primitive neural interfaces that had masked the solar system-wide quantum network. They didn't just develop new technology, one analyst reported. They developed new ways of thinking about technology. We were so focused on what we thought was possible, we never considered alternatives. The military implications sent ripples of panic through defensive forces across the galaxy. Conventional warships were useless against quantum-targeted weapons. Traditional shields couldn't stop attacks that operated at the atomic level. The entire balance of power had shifted overnight. But humanity's response surprised everyone again. "We're not interested in military dominance," Dr. Sarah Chen announced to an emergency session of the Galactic Assembly. "We're interested in progress. Humanity developed these technologies because you forced us to think differently. Now we're offering to share that perspective." The offer sent shockwaves through galactic society. Species that had developed along traditional lines for millions of years suddenly faced a choice: adapt to humanity's revolutionary approaches or become obsolete. Some embraced the change immediately. The Orcs, a species of crystalline beings who had struggled with traditional FTL travel, were among the first to adopt quantum-fold technology. Their ships, integrated with human innovations, began exploring regions of space they had never been able to reach before. Others resisted. The Vor Collective, convinced that humanity's achievements must be a deception, launched a probe fleet to test Earth's defenses. The fleet vanished without a trace, its atoms scattered across space by quantum-targeted weapons they never saw coming. But the most profound changes weren't technological. They were cultural. Species that had been locked in rigid development paths for millions of years began questioning their assumptions. The Council's carefully maintained hierarchy of civilizations started to crumble as primitive races proved capable of understanding and implementing human innovations. "Your greatest achievement wasn't the technology," the Archean Prime said during a diplomatic exchange. "It was proving that the Council's entire system of classification was wrong. You showed that different paths of development could lead to superior results." In hidden chambers beneath Geneva, the United Earth Council debated humanity's next moves. They had revealed their capabilities, but that was just the beginning. The question now was how to reshape a galaxy that had shaped itself around assumptions they had proven wrong. "We need to be careful," Sarah warned during a critical session. "We've shown them what we can do. Now we need to show them what we should do." The solution emerged from humanity's own history. Rather than imposing their will through force, they began establishing innovation centers throughout the galaxy. These facilities, staffed by humans and aliens working together, focused on developing new approaches to old problems. The results were extraordinary. Species that had been stuck at technological plateaus for millennia began making breakthroughs. The combination of human creativity with alien perspectives led to discoveries that neither could have achieved alone. This is what they never understood, Marcus explained to a group of alien scientists. Progress isn't about following a predetermined path. It's about finding new paths altogether. The council, faced with irrefutable evidence of their errors, began to transform. The rigid hierarchy of civilizations gave way to a more fluid system that recognized different forms of advancement. Species were no longer judged by how closely they followed the traditional development path, but by their ability to innovate and adapt. Humanity's quantum technology continued to spread, but it was their approach to problem-solving that proved most revolutionary. The species that had been dismissed as primitive had demonstrated that limitations could breed innovation, that restrictions could spark creativity, and that the path forward might not be the one that seemed most obvious. In the space lanes between stars, ships using quantum-fold drives carried more than just cargo and passengers. They carried ideas, approaches, and possibilities that were reshaping galactic civilization. The species that had tried to contain humanity now found themselves being uplifted by the very civilization they had patronized. And in her office on Earth, Dr. Sarah Chen watched it all unfold with a mixture of pride and caution. Humanity had proven itself more capable than anyone had imagined. The question now was whether the galaxy was ready for what that truly meant. 5 years after humanity's revelation, the galaxy had become unrecognizable to those who had known it before. The rigid hierarchies and technological orthodoxies that had dominated for millions of years had given way to something new, something uniquely human in its embrace of chaos and possibility. The former council headquarters, once a monument to stagnant order, had been transformed into the Galactic Innovation Exchange. Species that had never collaborated now worked side by side, combining their unique perspectives with humanity's revolutionary approaches. Dr. Sarah Chen stood at the observation deck, watching ships of all designs moving through nearby space. Some used traditional FTL drives, others quantum-fold technology, and some entirely new propulsion systems born from the fusion of different technological approaches. "Did you ever imagine it would turn out like this?" Marcus asked, joining her at the window. His neural interface gleamed subtly, connecting him to the quantum network that now spanned much of the galaxy. "Not exactly," she admitted. "I expected resistance, conflict, maybe even war. Instead, they had witnessed something unprecedented, a galaxy-wide renaissance. The revelation of humanity's achievements had broken more than just technological barriers. It had shattered psychological ones. Species that had been deemed primitive by council standards were now making breathtaking advances by combining their unique perspectives with human innovation. The Zkri, once dismissed as simple hive-mind insects, had revolutionized quantum computing by applying their natural understanding of collective consciousness. The Vor Collective, after their failed probe mission, had become one of humanity's most eager students. Their biological technology, combined with quantum-fold principles, had led to ships that were literally alive, capable of adapting to any situation. But the most profound changes were philosophical. The Council's million-year-old system of categorizing civilizations had been replaced by something more fluid, more human. Progress was no longer measured by how closely a species followed a predetermined path, but by their ability to think differently, to innovate, to surprise. "We've received another dozen applications for innovation partnerships," Marcus reported, scrolling through data in his mind, "including 3 from species we'd never even contacted before." Sarah nodded. The quantum network had made isolation impossible. Species that had hidden from the Council's rigid oversight now emerged willingly, eager to participate in the new galactic order. In the depths of space, joint human-alien expeditions pushed the boundaries of exploration. Quantum-fold drives, combined with alien sensory technology, allowed ships to venture into regions once thought impenetrable. Each discovery led to new questions, new approaches, new possibilities. The pirates who had triggered humanity's revelation had inadvertently created something unprecedented. A galaxy where cooperation trumped competition, where different approaches were celebrated rather than suppressed, where innovation came from unexpected places. The council thought putting restrictions on us would keep us contained, Sarah mused, watching a ship of entirely new design slide past the window. They never understood that humans don't just break through barriers. We transform them into bridges. The quantum network hummed with activity as billions of minds, human and alien, shared ideas across vast distances. Problems that had stumped individual species for millennia were being solved through collaboration. The galaxy was learning what humanity had known all along, that true progress comes not from following established paths, but from forging new ones. In a symbolic gesture, the former council chamber had been converted into a space where young species made their first presentations to the galactic community. Today, a civilization that would once have been classified as pre-industrial was demonstrating how their unique understanding of gravitational fields could revolutionize quantum-fold technology. We were never meant to be contained, Sarah said, watching the presentation through her neural link. But more importantly, neither was anyone else. The Council's greatest mistake wasn't underestimating humanity. It was underestimating the potential in every species. The galaxy had learned its lesson. The age of rigid hierarchies and predetermined paths was over. In its place, a new order had emerged, one built on human principles of innovation, adaptation, and the understanding that the most significant breakthroughs often come from the most unexpected places. As night fell on the former council world, quantum-fold ships continued their silent dance through space. Each carried not just passengers and cargo, but ideas, dreams, and possibilities. The galaxy had tried to contain humanity and failed. Instead, humanity had shown the galaxy how to break free of its own constraints. And in the vast darkness between the stars, countless civilizations looked up at their skies with new eyes, knowing that the path to the future was no longer fixed. It was whatever they dared to imagine it could be. The age of limitations was over. The age of possibility had begun.